On the final night of my honeymoon, my spouse Ricky and I were enjoying the outdoor hot tub of the beach resort. It was a biting cold December evening, and the resort was nearly deserted. The allure of a warm soak under the starlit sky was too intoxicating to resist, even though the temperature was close to freezing. We felt daring, invincible, and in a way, incredibly grown up for braving the cold to relax in the hot tub. The fire pit nearby was ablaze, casting dancing shadows around us, yet we were the sole souls venturing out into the cold. We held a private audience with the night, our whispers the only human sounds breaking the serene silence. It was a luxurious experience. As I sat leaning back against the pulsating water jet, Ricky, stretching his arms out and tilting his head towards the sky, marveled at the celestial spectacle above us. "You can see every star up there," he said, a sense of awe coloring his voice. "You don't see that in the city." Indeed, the city's neon glow was a poor match for the natural brilliance of the night sky. A gust of wind swept over the hot tub, swirling the steam into ethereal twisters behind us. Beyond the dunes, the ocean roared, its rhythmic ebb and flow a soothing lullaby. We shared a moment of blissful silence, soaking in the beauty around us. The idea of capturing this moment for our friends back home crossed my mind, but Ricky, ever the private soul, gently reminded me of our pact. We had promised to disconnect from the world, to enjoy our honeymoon away from the constant buzz of social media. "We'll only go on our honeymoon once," he reasoned. I acquiesced, settling back against his arm, surrendering to the moment. The conversation faded, replaced by the symphony of the night, the ocean's roar, the wind's whisper, and the crackling fire pit. We savored the moment, allowing the sounds of the ocean to lull us into a state of tranquility. Eventually, the timer for the jets went off, prompting us to retreat to the warmth of our room. The following morning, Ricky noticed something peculiar. A small square object had been slipped under our door. The morning sun was bright, casting long shadows across the room. Ricky, always the early riser, was up already, stretching his arms and preparing for the day. As he went about his morning routine, his eyes were drawn to the oddity at the foot of the door. At first, he thought it was the bill for our stay, a harmless slip of paper that would detail our expenses. With a casual stride, he moved towards the door, reaching down to pick up the square item. But as he unfolded the object, his footsteps faltered, and a silence fell over him. It was a silence so profound that it sent a shiver down my spine, making me turn my head towards him. He stood there, frozen in place, his eyes wide and fixed on the object in his hand. His normally jovial face was clouded with a deep frown, his brows furrowed in confusion and disbelief. The playful glint in his eyes was replaced by a look of shock, and his lips were pressed into a thin line. It was a sight that I had rarely seen, and it filled the room with a palpable tension. The silence lingered, stretching out the seconds into what felt like hours. I watched him, my heart pounding in my chest, my mind racing with questions. "What's wrong, Ricky?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, but he didn't respond. He just stood there, his gaze still locked onto the object. The silence was finally broken by the sound of his footsteps as he slowly walked towards me. The color had drained from his face, leaving him looking pale and disturbed. His hand was shaking slightly as he extended it towards me, revealing the object that had stirred such a reaction. "Look," he muttered, his voice shaking as much as his hand. His face had turned an ashen white. In his hand, he was clutching a Polaroid picture taken from behind. "What's wrong?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. Ricky was silent, his gaze fixed on the Polaroid in his hand. As I moved closer, the world around me seemed to grow still. Everything was suspended in that one moment, the air heavy with a sense of foreboding. In his trembling hands was a Polaroid, a photograph of us taken from the previous night. We were there in the hot tub, our backs to the lens, oblivious to the prying eyes. The stars above were sprinkled across the black canvas of the sky, mirroring the flicker of hope in our eyes. The fire pit a few lots over was a blaze of life, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to reach out towards us in the photo. The picture itself wasn't what sent a chilling shiver down my spine. It was the fact that someone else had been there, watching us, someone who had managed to capture this intimate moment without our knowledge. We had thought we were alone, isolated in our little bubble of newlywed bliss, but we weren't. We were never alone. The realization hit us like a bolt of lightning, shattering the serenity of the morning. We were in the middle of nowhere, miles away from the nearest town. The resort was nearly deserted, with only a handful of other guests who kept to themselves. Who could have taken this picture? Ricky's grip tightened on the Polaroid, his knuckles turning white. His eyes, usually filled with warmth and laughter, were clouded with fear and confusion. I could see the same emotions mirrored in my own eyes, a silent testament to the disturbing discovery. As we stared at the photograph, the weight of the situation sank in. We were not as alone as we thought we were. We were being watched, followed, observed. The sense of violation was overwhelming, turning the sweet memory of the previous night into a nightmare. On the white part at the bottom of the Polaroid, scrawled in black Sharpie, were the words, "Here you go, a message from our unseen observer," a chilling reminder of the disturbing discovery we had just made. It was a chilling realization. Someone had been watching us, close enough to take a picture without our knowledge. A wave of icy dread washed over us, replacing the warm afterglow of the previous night. Our sanctuary, our honeymoon haven, had been violated. It felt like the walls of our world were closing in, our sense of safety and privacy shattered into a million pieces. The Polaroid, it was more than just a picture. It was a testament to our vulnerability, a cruel reminder that we were not alone. It was a question, a riddle wrapped in an enigma, leaving us to wrestle with the unknown. Who had taken that picture and why? Our minds were a whirlpool of thoughts, a cacophony of questions echoing in our heads. The unseen observer, the silent voyeur. Who was he? What did he want? The fear of the unknown was gnawing at us, leaving us restless and on edge. We were left with more questions than answers. Who was the unseen observer lurking in the shadows? What did they want? And most importantly, were we safe?